What's going on, Workforce? Brian here, and today we're summarizing Tokyo FanFest, the keynote for 2019 Shadowbringers. There's a lot of information, a lot of things going on in the trailer alone, as well as the music alone, lots of things to theorize and speculate on. I'm not going to get into a lot of that, but there could be some potential spoilers in this video. I'm really not going to dive into the story, but when I have to explain what the source is and what the first is and what that means overall, that's what we're going to get into. So if you already know what that is, that's great. If you're curious about what I mean, we're going to talk about it here in this video. Now, before we get started, I do want to shout out Mr. Poggy for being a comment on our last video for the live reaction. So thank you for being a part of the workforce. I just want to say, if you want to be like Mr. Poggy, we are shouting out people all over the time for each video. So be sure to leave us a comment, hit that like button on this video, and be sure to be subscribed to the workforce. We'd love to have you as a member, but let's go ahead and dive into the juicy details about everything that just happened. So whether you want to or not, we're going to probably start off with the most controversial piece, is that female only Viera are confirmed. There are no male playable race for this race itself. A lot of people were hoping, a lot of people were speculating. I've been in the other camp. I've literally thought it should be female only, and I know I'm not necessarily the majority when it comes to the community, but from a lore perspective, from how that works, I've been saying this for several months now, even being called out saying like, no, there's definitely a male race. And well, unfortunately or fortunately, I was right in this case. So it's female only. What are we getting? Well, we're getting we're getting a lion race. We're getting the Ronso or the Hrothgar, if you will. Now, depending on what you call these things, it depends on what shard you're originally from, and that's going to be a big key factor. But let's talk about that here in just a minute. I want to dive into the concept of Dancer. Dancer is not a healer. We're getting a tank and we're getting a DPS this go round. So for people who are really hoping and wanting to lean into the healing aspect, I do have to say, unfortunately, you're going to have to stick with the 3 healers that we currently have. Dancer is a ranged melee DPS, which makes sense because we've only had 2 for a while. So having this job, being able to throw the chakra or really any ranged type of weapon. When you're looking at the Dancer, they could do ribbons, they could do strings, they could do knives, they could do shuriken, they could do whatever they want as far as it goes, because they can really fit into these throwing weapons, and that's really what the job itself is about. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out and what all varying weapon types or different models they have for the Dancer itself. So all in all, I think that actually is a smart move in the long run. While I personally wanted Dancing to be kind of a healer because I thought, tank healer, it seems to be that aspect. Obviously, that's not how it's playing out. And so it is going to be a ranged melee DPS, which is going to balance out with Bard, Machinist, and, well, Bard and Machinist, there's only 2, right? So now there are 3 of those. So you had 4 tanks, 3 healers, 3 ranged, and then you have like 4 melee, and then you got the 3 casters. So everybody's starting to be evened out a little bit across the board there. So the story itself. So we talked about the Dancer being the job. So we know we got GunBraker and Dancer. We talked about the female only race. We talked about the male only race. That is in and of itself is really both surprising and in regards to where this is, but I don't not in surprising in the sense that they wouldn't do this again. I think it seems to kind of fit in, and honestly, I'm really excited to see how this plays out. I am not personally looking forward to seeing this question asked probably every open Q&A. Can we get the male Viera? Can we get a female version of the Hrothgar? Hopefully that doesn't end up being a thing, but honestly, I just think it will be because there's a lot of people who wanted to do that. But unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on where you fall, that is how it's going to be. So now let's talk about the story, because we knew dwarves are coming. Well, guess what? Dwarves are potatoes, aka the Lalafell. Every race that kind of correlates on the source, which, if you're not aware, we exist right now in the game's world. What's on the source? Heidelin split herself in her fight with Zodiark into 14 shards. Those shards represent different aspects of the game. The 13th being where all the void sent coming from, because darkness overtook that shard and it became engulfed, and therefore that shard was lost. So when we look at the first, which is where we're going to be going, it's being overtaken by light, and that's where we're going to be going to fulfill, I guess, our destiny as the warrior of darkness in this case. So all that being said, you're going to these different these worlds and this shard in and of itself, and now you're starting to see some interesting things as it relates to how they're erased out. So they talked about the Lalafell actually being the dwarves. The Elzen are actually called elves. And so that is game changing. And in fact, it could even be game changing as far as it goes to all the various beastmen tribes, because they said the dwarves are in fact a beastmen tribe on the first shard. Anyway, long story short, all really quite fascinating. It seems to have a tie-in with the Crystal Tower, which is what Larryzar actually speculated, which was a really good popular fan theory of going into this. So the Crystal Tower seems to be some form of gateway to be able to travel between these shards. And now when this happened, so this happened about 12,000 years ago, and in those 12,000 years before then, the Crystal Tower didn't exist over on the first. So it somehow exists now, and it exists in our world. So it's going to be interesting to see, because just because they're on a copy of the source, they've evolved, they've changed, they've had different things that happen, different events, different calamities that have all changed how these races and these cultures and everything has evolved. In fact, everybody on the first is actually just waiting for the world to be consumed by light and to be all destroyed. And so you kind of see how that's affecting the culture. So it's going to be interesting to see how this has, if this has any kind of gameplay aspect, how we kind of take back this world or kind of bring balance to the first shard itself. The other side of the story ends up being where what's happening with the Guardian Empire on the source, what's happening while we're away. So there's a lot of story elements that I'm really excited to see how these all play out to themselves. And just the fact that the races have different names tells me as a player that they can do anything they want. If we want to see Vana'diel brought into this world, Final Fantasy XI, like, it makes sense. It can kind of all fit. It can fit that it exists within this world and within this within this sharded system. The world of 11 and Vana'diel have existed within this universe and within this world. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see how that plays out. But for me personally, it just, with the look and the aesthetics of the zones and how everything just comes together, and the music is just so spot on and perfect, I have to say I'm walking away from this very pleased and very excited to see how all this comes together. The last kind of big bit of information is that we got the name for the new raid. We didn't really get much other than a picture of a Sprout, and then Tetsunori Nomura as the guest creator for it, and it's called Eden. And you know, people are speculating in chat like it might be X-Death. We've already seen him, but this is also maybe happening on the first, so they could really do whatever they want. I honestly feel like going into Shadowbringers, the surprises are probably going to be pretty substantial, both with the story, the characters, the characterization, what's been going on with Menphilia. I am intrigued. And with the GunBraker and with Dancer, I really actually kind of am happy with how that plays out. With the female-only race and the male-only race, I'm actually happy that's how it kind of plays out. It's going to be interesting to see how that goes from here on out. But the fact that we can build ourselves a Ronso, the fact that we can build ourselves the Viera, and then we have these things to play with, and how just stylized and the amount of work that they put into the detail, really I think speaks a lot to the overall game itself. Now, if there's anything that I'm missing about this, there's a lot of information that was kind of being covered. They obviously went over the summary of what all has already been announced. So we know about the 24-man. We already know about the different jobs, the races, the zones that they showed off. But they did spend some time showing off footage of the zones themselves, and it just looks beautiful. The last thing I'm going to touch on is that this world and the cities in which they showed off really tie back to Rapture. Project Rapture was kind of the precursor to Final Fantasy XIV. It was their tech demo and them showing off these cities. So it's nice to see that's not lost. As a 1.0 player, as somebody who's been covering and talking about this game for well over 10 years now, it's just mind-boggling. This speaks to me in a lot of weird ways. There's a lot of things that the feel and the look and how the characters are designed and how the armor's designed and how all this is coming together makes me really feel connected with the roots of this game, being with it for so long. Maybe it's more nostalgic than anything else, and for new players they might not catch on to that, but as somebody who's been around, and I really love the look of this city, and I'm just going to call it Rapture City because that's how I know it. Now, obviously the joke is, in a hailstorm, that city looks like it would be destroyed because it's so many glass domes. But as far as it goes, I am really, really looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to maybe getting some more knowledge about what these mysteries mean, these long-running mysteries about the nature of Hydaelyn and Zodiark, and that's really where we're going to have to see this play out. Anyway, like I said, if I missed anything, let me know what it was in the comments below. If you like this video, please be sure to hit the like button. We've got lots of stuff planned for you guys. and there's just going to be a lot to talk about because we haven't even started to scratch the surface when it comes to the battle system changes. We haven't even begun to scratch the surface of how these jobs are going to play, what's all changing about your current jobs. There's so much more to come, and we've got 3 months to go. So with that, I'm going to leave you with that. Like I said, be sure to check out our Discord. Be sure to leave us a comment below. Looking forward to having lots of conversations with you guys. Sure, it's going to be a fun and interesting couple of months. But for Work To Game, my name's Brian. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Hey guys, it's me, Brian. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you're new here, we hope you hit that subscribe button. Check us out. We talk a lot about video games, and we hope to at least hear from you in the comments below. We also try to respond to our comments. You know, we really appreciate the comments, the discussion, all the various points of view that everybody is so kindly, I guess, and politely or impolitely shares with us from time to time. So anyway, guys, again, thanks for watching this video. We hope you hit that like button. We hope you hit that subscribe button. Come back for more content each and every day. We post a lot around here, and we'd love to hear from you about what you like about video games and everything, and especially if you have any questions that you're stuck on in anything. So anyway, signing off. See you next time.